seeing music, hearing music, going to a concert, experiencing a concert is unnecessarily putting you at a distance from the music, from the creative process that's going on stage. The stage, in the Blue Tavern, there's not much of a line between the stage and the rest of the room because of necessity, because it's such a tiny room and there's no change in altitude there. But I think the best musical experiences I've ever had that could be classified as concerts were ones in which the audience was participating. And I'm not talking about necessarily, okay, we're going to have a sing along here. Everybody sing along. It's more like you just at one point you look around and you realize that you're actually part of something. You're not just sitting back passively enjoying this thing and consuming a product. There's no product, there's no consumer. It's just an experience that everybody's having, and it's really cool. And the thing that I want to happen the most is something like that. If that can happen, then it's a good night. And most nights are like that.
Yeah.
Most nights are like that. There are times when it feels very stilted, like the person isn't really quite comfortable enough with the scene, with playing in such a small room or playing that close to somebody sitting practically in your lap while you're playing. But you have to get over it.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about is exactly what I love about stand-up comedy, because it requires. One thing we've talked about on this show is like a band can have a good show with or without the audience's participant. Like they feel good among each other. That was a great show. I had so much fun playing. A stand-up, even a solo artist can have a good show without the audience like confirming it or reaffirming it or whatever, or feel like they did, right? They can have that feeling of satisfaction. A stand-up comedian cannot. It requires the audience to engage. It requires that give and that take, that audience energy, like reciprocal energy between the audience and the comedian is like, it has to happen or you're literally just
dying.
It's like the worst experience for everybody in the room, right? Like the audience is miserable, the comedian's if everybody's just sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they're like booing or heckling you, that's better than silence. No?
Oh.
But what you're talking about, and it's why I love club shows and smaller venues. I don't like going to arena shows. There's a couple of bands I'll go see. Like I'll go see Weird Al in an arena because that's first of all, the show fits it. It's like an extravaganza, right? But it's also that's the only place you're gonna see Weird Al. But like most of the time, I'd rather just like, watch a live concert film on my really good sound system with lights. And if it's like an arena,
all the different angles.
Yeah, if it's an arena show, because half the time you're just watching the screen anyway. And I'm not saying I wouldn't go to those shows. They're just not that important to me. And the experience, if I have a handful of friends over at my house and watch it like an event, it's not much different than going and watching the giant screen from the nosebleeds, because that's all I'm going to afford anyway.
but what you're talking about there is a spectacle. And it's
sure.
The last big show I went to that I can recall was at the Civic Center. And this was probably in the late 80s, early 90s. Lyle Lovett, trio, back before he had his large band, he was traveling. He opened for Reba McEntire.
Oh, hell yeah.
And she came out, I mean, she had like a different costume every 2 or 3 songs. And she put on a show, brother. Wow.
And you can tell like some artists get so big so fast that they don't grow into those venues.
Yeah.
So they just go up there and they play like a club show in front of 20,000 people. And there's this weird disconnect. But the real concert, like I guess what I'm saying though is being in those arenas is not much different to me than just like watching a really good live film. Whereas like going to a club show and where that energy, like My favorite band is the Drive By Truckers. I've seen them like countless times over the last 21 years. And their shows are completely, everybody sings every word along to every song. They're feeding off the energy of the crowd. Rarely do they play places with a barricade, and if they're allowed to get the barricade removed, they do. They just don't. I'll be seeing them at the 40 Watt, play 4 nights next week up in Athens. There's no barricade. You're just on the stage if you're up front. They're like, don't put your beer on the stage kind of thing. I guess my point is, what you're talking about is exactly what I love about live music. It's not, once it gets to be a certain size and you have that distance that you were talking about between the artist and the crowd, you might as well just be watching something happen.
Yeah.
And the only way to make it organic is like to invite some friends with you, or like invite some friends over and watch the thing on whatever. But I just don't see those two things as much different. Whereas like going to a club or going to see a show at an intimate venue like the Blue Tavern is a very different experience that is an exchange of energy, requires the audience to want to be there too, I think.
Oh yeah. If you don't want to be there, there have been, I mean, granted, there are times when people do talk so loudly and they're obviously not there for the music, and I'll invite them to go out to the courtyard and continue their conversation outside.
Yeah.
But
especially if it's like nice out.
Yeah, if it's rainy, I'm like, yeah, get out of here. Go to the Leon pub. But yeah, one of my favorite things is when people come in and they just think they're just gonna have a beer, or they're gonna check the place out because it looks like a dive and they're curious, and then they end up staying for the rest of the night going, oh my God, I had no idea. And they're just like, and they've converted to fandom for whoever was playing that night. And
you might be unlocking like either a new love or a newfound love of live music again too, because I think
that's what I'd like.
So many, especially after the pandemic, so many people just got out of the habit of living, like going out and doing stuff.
Yeah, doing things.
I mean,
together.
myself included.
Yeah.
That I think
that was
having a night like what you're talking about can reignite. Oh, this is what life used to be like.